XRP is about to get exciting, not just for one reason. And so when you have more, like I was saying in the previous portion of this stream for Ethereum, if you have multiple groups of people, so it's not actually people who know each other, right? So people who trade EMAs, people who trade patterns, people who trade trend lines, that type of stuff, or just structure, higher lows on different time frames, or candles, whatever. Those types of groups. If you have multiple large groups seeing something in the same almost exact area, but for totally different reasons, it'll increase the probability of that move not just happening from a probable statistical standpoint, but it increases the chances that volatility will take off. So on XRP, you have this triangle that's very mature in its formation. Technically, it's using it as resistance, but it's holding on, and look at this. Look right there. That's a big ass deal. So I'm about ready to give you a piece of information that might not be useful for a year and a half or two, but if you remember what I'm about to say, this is literally all I did during the middle, around February, March of the bull market, and it worked almost, it wasn't 100%, but it worked almost every time. This cross. This is the weekly big daddy cross. In bear markets and sideways markets, you can have fakeouts of this. But in a bull market, when you see the weekly 10 trying to get above the weekly 21 and they've been used as support, that means that asset's getting ready to fly up. So in a bull market, I would be buying on spot and trying to trade this on futures right now. But take that with a grain of salt because you have a few different things happening here. It hasn't been triggered yet. If if XRP can get above this triangle, then you're going to have the pattern traders seeing a breakout of a very, very mature shape or consolidation, which spans 41 days. You can see it behind me there. It says 41 days in the middle. And you will have EMA traders seeing that the weekly 21 has been used as support over and over and over. The weekly 10 crossed up, and they honestly might already be trading up before it gets there. So you're going to have two large groups of people trade. This honestly could be a big one if it gets above there. Take that with a grain of salt in a bear sideways market, because market makers, when there is less trading volume on an asset, which is pretty much all of crypto, including Bitcoin, in a bear market, they're more easily able to put price exactly where they want it on a map and then flip it the other direction. Literally like being the cause of it going there, then coming back, the direction they actually want it to go. So just with a grain of salt, if you are going to try to get involved in this trade, if it is triggered above here, just realize this would be a perfect opportunity for market makers of the big bad days who are creating fakeouts to make price get in there, maybe even pull back and then take out the high and then scream down, because it'd be perfect bait, like fishing. Like instead of just using a worm, like taking chicken livers, like this is chicken liver bait. But being bait versus the real move, at the time it's happening, it's indistinguishable. You don't know, right? So the only way to do it is to be in the trade and use risk management as it's moving in that direction. Keep moving your stops. That's the only way to do it, unless you're part of the big bad days who are, unless you have insider information on what they're doing, right? So these are kind of contrary thoughts, but I'm trying to say this to you because I think a lot of people might be looking at this. Yes, it's set up to be a very large breakout. I mean, like macro. This is set up to be big. Like, if I could exaggerate things and try to hyperbolize the concept. I mean, this is a situation which could eventually lead to, XRP leading crypto out of a bear market single-handedly, similar to how Litecoin did in early 2019. This is a big setup. It could, so that's hyperbole, right? So taking things like beyond what's probable. I don't think that's probable, right? So like take that out of context. But that would be one side of the extreme on what easily could happen. It could happen. It's not probable, but it could. On the other side, because of all this, this is perfect, like chicken liver bait for fishing, to bait people to try to trade up before bringing it down for market makers. And the only way to be safe is to, or to try to participate is to, Michael Jordan quote, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. It's to A, be in the trade, and B, keep moving your stops and keep your risk management up. Because it is indistinguishable being bait and a fake out versus a true, potentially huge move. Cannot tell the difference in the moment it's happening. You simply have to be aware and know when to be out. Okay? And so XRP is about ready to get really, really, really interesting. The cool thing about this is the same could be true to the downside. It could want to fake out one more time as this is crossing and then spike up. Same rules apply. You cannot, at that moment, a fake out is indistinguishable from a true breakdown because this is a fantastic bait as well. It got rejected from the triangle, so it fell out of the triangle, failure pattern, and all these times. Here, let's zoom into there. It never truly used this as strong support since it's failed it. Like, it hasn't been using it as perfect support. Look at this. So even down, it used it as perfect resistance though. Look at that. But as it came down, where did it find support? Below it. Failure pattern, where did it find support? Below it. But it almost had perfect rejections, right? When it came back above and went back below, where did it find support? Below it. So the rejections are hitting perfectly, but the supports are not, which honestly, from a micro time frame perspective, without looking at this very bullish potential cross, it looks like it's more likely to go down in a micro time frame perspective. So if that is if the big bad days are attempting to have a downside fake out before running it up, it's not quite as good as a fake out setup as going to the upside then slamming it down, but it's still a great setup because it looks bearish. Once you get the trigger point of having a probabilistic downside move below here, then people would start trading harder, but that would be the point where they bring it down and rock and roll back up. So be prepared for a fake out either way. And then really the only way to get around it for the upside is to be in the trade with stops. But to the for the other side though, a fake out happening is going to be more obvious because price will interact more heavily with this, and you will be able to see the tiny time frames like 5 minute, 1 minute candles get back above both of these EMAs and bounce on it. Very similar to how my Dixie analysis was from this week. I mentioned very specifically in my Dixie analysis that Dixie is likely to go back up if it can simply have tiny candles. So I think I made the analysis here. I said if the candles can get back above and try to use it as support, then it's going to go above this line at least, right? And that's what it's done. It's used, so not perfect support. This one's pretty good and this one's very good. And that's what it's done. So the same type of thing would happen on XRP. If it's a fake out to the downside, this is a convenience that you wouldn't have to the other side. You will be able to see with a very high likelihood price interact with this for a little bit. So you know, shit, that was a fake out. It's going to go back up now. Make sense? So that all of that information, should help you be safe trading XRP over the next, I don't know, it might not be 2 weeks like my time frame on Ethereum was. I don't know, until the breakout happens or breakdown happens. But just realize it could be a massive move. And either way it goes, it could be a fake out. The fake out to the upside, the only way to do it, to deal with it, is to be in the trade with stops. To the downside, it'll be more obvious because price will interact more heavily with the weekly 10, similar to how Dixie did. And that is XRP.